21 questions, people. We are live. I'm your host, IC. We got Bola already in the building. Love that. 21 questions. This is the SITDOWN's Insta Live platform where we go behind the scenes and find out a bit more about individuals who are empowering and inspiring our community. We've got close to 20, I think we're at 23 now, 24, 23 episodes. So if you're watching this back or if you're just joining us, make sure you go click the link in the bio and you can watch all the other episodes. 23 episodes. We've got Zizi Mills, William Adewasi, Ramel London, Sway Desart. Oh, actually, we haven't got Sway. We've got so many more. So make sure you go and check those out. Right, let's get everything set up. Good evening, Tooms. How are you doing? Just get started. So let's go for the question of today. Comment below, can money buy love? If you're watching this on replay, we're going to be answering this question. Can money buy love? Let me know what your comment is, what you think in the comment section below. Can money buy love? Can your love be bought? That is the question. 21 questions. I'm your host, IC. And tonight we're going to be talking with Bola, amazing woman who is just empowering our community with finance. Delvine, how you doing? Question of the day, question so far is, can money buy love? Comment in the section below. Let's see what you think. Who else is going to build it? Delvin, what do you think? Can money buy love? Tooms, can money buy love? Bola, can money buy love? Question of the day. We'll just get this set up and get started. Bola said, not real love. Probably that fake love, that faux love. Delvey said, no. No? No ways. So where do you want your man to take you? Where do you want your partners to take you? Is Nando's all right then? Is McDonald's okay then? Let me know. All right, let's get this set up. All right, without further ado, let's get into it, man. JK, welcome, man. You guys are on time, so I'm going to make sure we honor that time. We are live with Bola Soul, so I'm going to introduce her right now, and we're going to get into our conversation. This is 21 questions. We're here every Thursday, 9 p.m. I'm your host, IC. We're going to have a good one, all right? So let me get Bola Soul on. Oprah, hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all good, thanks. Were you increasing your volume?
Yes. Thank you for joining us for 21 questions, man. It's a pleasure to have you. You have the task of 21 or even more. We've got a few more, 21 plus questions to ask you, but you get one pass card. Okay, so if there's a question you do not want to answer, you can use your pass card, skip the question. You don't have to answer it, but you do get a prize at the end if you don't use your pass card. What that prize is, I'm going to find it. But yeah, 21 questions. You are welcome in the building. How's today for you?
Today's been a good long day. Slight headache, but
Oh, man.
I'm fixing it with some juices.
Come on, you know how we do. All right, then. No problem. So for those who may not know who you are, just give us a quick elevator pitch of who Bola is.
Yeah, I am Bola Soul. I am a financial wellness coach.
Come on.
And I run Rich Girl Chronicles. I am the co-host of The Last Three Digits.
So again, the last 3 digits.
The Last Three Digits, yeah.
Yes, great podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. And the reason that I really wanted to get you on because I teach my main job, my 9 to 5 is teaching young people about financial management. That's what I do.
Amazing.
Yeah, so like young people who are about to leave care and move into their own places, they have to come to a 5-day course before they move into their own place, so they know how to manage money, they know how to manage their finances. So big up my bank, big up my workplace, my bank, MYBNK. So what you do, I love it. I thought I want to get you on because you're helping to it's almost like reverse a generational curse with money. Yes, because like so many people maybe didn't have the skills, didn't have the teachings about money. And so we learn from our mistakes. But when we have someone like you in our community that is welcome in and open up your arms to say, look, come and learn. I've been in it. I know about it. I'm in the industry. Come and learn the wisdom and the gems that can help you make better decisions. I think that's amazing. So I thought, let's get you on and just kind of shine light on what you're doing and shine light on your story. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm ready.
Cool. All right. So big up everyone that's just joined us. This is 21 questions with Bola Soul. This is the SITDOWN's Q&A platform on Insta Live. And like I said, make sure after you finish, go click the link in the bio. We've got 24 episodes that is there for you to digest. Zizi Mills, Ramel London, William Adwasi, we've got London J. We've got so many people that have just come on and just shared their life stories. And you can just take the gems from that. But without further ado, we're going to go straight into it. Bola, you are going to be hit with your quick fire round. So the questions are going to come real fast. You just got to answer them how you see fit. You ready? Let's go. What would be your ideal pseudonym?
My ideal
pseudonym.
Ooh.
You said yours were coming soon.
Tolu Delta.
Oh, Tolu Delta. I like that. Okay.
Tolu Delta.
Tolu Delta. I like that. All right. What's your favorite money story that inspires you?
The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay. And that's a book as well. You can get that book as well.
Napoleon Hill, yeah.
Napoleon Hill. Yeah, that is a deep book. And when do you feel the most confident?
When I'm teaching women how to make their money work for them, as opposed to them working for money. Yes,
I love that. Come on. What is something that you're really, really proud of?
Being on Forbes under before 30.
Come on. Yes, better toot your horn. Have you kept that article?
No, not recently.
No?
Not recently.
Okay. Yeah, keep those things. You never know for the future. What happened in the last dream you remember?
In the last
dream you had?
Ooh. I was telling someone not to take something the government was trying to give everyone.
That is very apt at the moment. What inspires you the most?
My family inspired me the most.
Why?
Because they're all go-getters.
Oh, nice. What makes you the most uncomfortable?
Too much attention, ironically.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you an introvert but does extrovert things?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I'm the same. This for me doing this is like every single day I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, no, you're doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. Next question is, what is your favorite thing about yourself?
That I'm very audacious.
Come on.
I'll do it whether or not I'm scared. I'll do it.
Yes, have fear and do it anyway. What's your worst personality trait?
I can lack patience and lock people off.
And what is it that you want from them if they don't respond in time, or?
I want them to read my mind sometimes.
Love it. That's honest. That's honest. What would you do with 8 million if you won 8 million right now?
Honestly, if I won 8 million, I would no longer have social media. I would completely lock it all off, and I would still do like the Bola social. I'd still have Rich Girl Chronicles. Just buy a couple properties and just mind my business.
I like that. What makes
and
you?
I would also make sure that more Black people get access to therapy.
I'm looking for a therapist at the moment, actually. So there was I was listening to a podcast and they recommended the Black and Asian therapy. Black and Asian therapy group, I think it is, if you put it in Google. So people who are looking, especially if they want a Black or an ethnic therapist, you can actually go in there, see their profiles, and pick them from there. So I just found that. So I'm giving that to y'all for free. What's your favourite item in your wardrobe?
My favourite item in my wardrobe is probably, right now, my Gaia dress from Kai Collective.
Okay, I don't know what those brands are, but I'm sure they're fly. What's your most expensive purchase?
Oh, most expensive purchase. I don't spend money like that. My most expensive purchase might be a silver Louis Vuitton scarf.
Let it flow. What's your desire, or what's your biggest desire or dream for your clients? What do you want for them?
For them to feel rich within their own story with money.
Love it. 37 seconds. Now, this is one of the most important questions of today. And I just want what comes to your head immediately. You ready? You got 30 seconds left. Team Chip or Team Storms?
Oh, Team Storms all day.
Why Team Storms?
First of all, we're both from South London, and Stormzy's lit.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. 10 seconds. All right, one more question. What's the biggest misconception about you?
That I'm super confident all the time.
Tell me a bit more about that.
I get nervous. I just do it anyway, you know. And when I do big things like the Bola Soul Show and stuff, I tend to take social media breaks. If I've got something coming up and I'm thinking about it a lot, I make an active effort to change my routine so that I am more centered. Wow. So I won't watch a lot of TV. I won't be on my phone as much because I don't want other people's opinions and stuff getting in the way. I want to feel like I want to detox so that I'm my true self and that I bring my best energy.
Okay. So then how do you cope when it's out, especially with the Bola Soul Show, when it's out there and it's available for critique? Is that something again that you'll do in terms of not looking at the comments or not paying attention?
I can look them because we've done the work.
Okay.
It's more like before it, and I think about the guests. I think about before COVID when we had audiences, and I want to be in the best possible energy for them. Yeah. I've invited them into that space, and I always think, 100%. How am I making them feel?
100%. We're the same. We're the same because with the sit down, you know, one of the biggest factors or elements of it is the audience and making them feel like part of an experience. And it's hard to do that if you yourself, especially being the figurehead, if you yourself is not aligned in yourself, it throws everything off. I have to go for a walk. So let's say, for example, we're starting at 9, I have to go for a walk at 8:45. People won't find where I am because I need to go and pray. I need to go and just talk to myself. I need to say that, you know what? We got this. Yeah. We got this. It's going to be fine. You know what you're doing. Let's go. And I think it's important for people to do that, you know, because like you said, you've got to be your best person to give the best to the people. Awesome. Love it. So how are you managing it with COVID and everything?
Just the same way as everyone else, really, taking it a day at a time.
Yeah,
Making
100%.
sure that I'm staying on top of my health, asking how everyone else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so easy to kind of slip back into normality, but nothing is normal right now. And do you know what? Everyone's going through it from a mental health perspective, and I think it's about being more mindful of that as opposed to, I don't know, just assuming everyone's okay.
Yeah, true. Let me talk a bit more about like your finance element. So one of the things I've noticed is, like, I just had a course this week and I was teaching 2 young people, and we were talking about credit scores, how important it is to have a high credit score, your credit report. And I struggle so much because the reason I got into the job is because I made so many financial mistakes in my university period.
Okay.
And I often find myself having this imposter syndrome of, what are you talking about? You didn't do none of that. And I almost feel guilty because I'm telling them stuff that I wish I would have kind of implemented. And if I did, I would be in a much better place financially. And I wonder with yourself, when you're with your clients and you're advising them and you're telling them the kind of the best route to go, do you ever have imposter syndrome? Do you ever think, oh gosh, I wish I was being able to do those same things?
Yeah. There was a time last year where I was actually invited, thanks to Black Ballad, to be on a panel for Financial Times, and I was going through it. I feel like I was in a phase of depression then, because I was in debt, and I was just like, I can't be the person talking about this when this is what I'm going through, and that was extremely hard. And my partner at the time encouraged me to still go on, because he said your current situation isn't who you are in general. It's not fair. So I was like, okay, cool. And I get that sometimes. Sometimes my financial position isn't at its best, but I just let people know, listen, it is what it is, especially when you're building. And right now, especially in 2020, I always say, listen, life is happening for people differently. Like, you have to make room for that. Because it's not 10-15 years ago where it's just like, yeah, you can put together a 10k and then you've got a deposit for a house. I say it's a different time now. People are doing things in different orders, and I can't blame them anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we've got a lot of people moving back home and who were independent, living on their own, thriving, and then life happens and you're like, Mum, Dad, I got to come back in. Yeah,
I used to say, don't buy a fancy car before you get a house. But with the economy crashing twice, I said, bruh, at least you can Uber. At least you can Uber. You can't drive your house.
Yeah.
Can't drive your house. You can drive a nice car, get some more money, do Uber.
Yeah. And I think in the UK, there's an overemphasis on, owning a property. Because in other countries, that emphasis is not there. It's actually on the side of renting. So like New York, in Europe as well, it's about renting because you're not going to be staying there, you're moving around. But I think in the UK there is this overemphasis and people put this financial pressure on themselves. Do you find that there is that at the moment with some of the people you're interacting with, or just friends as well?
Yeah. I don't know what that is, right? Because you look at whether or not you have ownership of the land, and more times you don't. So then you ask yourself, what are you holding on to, really? Because there's so many other different forms of assets you can pass down. I'm not saying I'm not here for property, but I'm not here on putting a particular age at which you have to buy a property. Do you know what I mean? Like, all of us are trying to hustle and live right now, let alone all this pressure of everything else. So I just say, make do with what you can and hustle where you can.
Why do you think it's not taught in schools? Like I teach it in a, let's say, for example, I teach it outside of schools, and I've taught it in schools, but I had to come in as an outside guest. Why do you think it's not taught like standardly, like in the curriculum? Because boy, if man were telling me about credit in year 9, you'd learn that stuff, and by the time you come out, you're so clued up.
I don't feel like the educational system in the UK is very good, and I feel like it fails a lot of us. And but at the same time, I always say many of us were taught about physical health, and not all of us are in the best health. Do you know what I mean? So you have to ask, even if it was taught, was it really going to make a difference? And more time, you know, I have said in the past that I do feel like they want us to work for them. But you got to look at like big burly white men, yeah, who I've worked with some of them, and some of them, they didn't even go to school. They just come there with bare confidence, chatting about this or that. That's why I always go into the world. I say I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm like, I've got a degree and things like that. Like, people, just some any Joe come out here and like, why can't we all do it? We can all do it.
Yeah.
We can all get some confidence and do what we want to do.
And that's what it is. More time is confidence. More time is acting. It's almost acting the part before you get the part.
Yeah, for real.
And I think that's what some of us actually just need to do to just break through their doors. Tell me about your interest in studying financial psychology, because mentally, you know, physically, say financially, you can teach people about money and finance and how to manage, but mentally, I think that's where you need to start first, in dealing with how people view money, the PTSD experiences they have with money, what they saw growing up. So tell me a bit more about financial psychology.
Yeah, so obviously I studied maths and finance, but I would love to look into like financial psychology, because a lot of it can date back to your experiences with money growing up, right? Whether or not those were positive or negative. Sometimes you can even find yourself, someone asking you for money, and I see it with my nieces and nephews now. I do this thing, I say like, how's school, what you doing, and why do you need that? Do you really need that? Do you really need Balenciagas? But I think one of the things, especially as Black people, that we have to teach our kids is that they have the same access to things that everybody else does. And that's not necessarily about designer shoes, but that's about experiences. Are we going on holiday? I've never gone on a family holiday in my life, right? And I want that experience for my kids and all of these things. When I went to uni, and like one of my friends were like, yeah, we go on family holidays 4 to 6 times a year. I said, 4 to what? I said, that's a luxury where I'm from. We've never had that. But the point is what are you teaching your kids about money, and what are you teaching your kids about access to the world? And are you telling them all? Because of the way racism's set up, it's so easy for us to be like, nah, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And of course, you've got to teach them to be on their P's and Q's, but you also have to let them know that you can do anything and be anything you want to be, whether that's inside a particular curriculum or educational system, or whether it's what you want to go do sports, you want to be a rapper, you want to be a singer, go and do whatever you want. Like, just it's a different world now, and I think that we have to ensure that our kids have access to all of it. But also remember the importance of keeping the coin within the community.
And how do we do that?
I'd say every month, and as often as I can, I'm trying to buy black. Like, it is just a natural thing for me, and I'm very grateful to say that it was even before this kind of Black Pound Day and hype. Like, I've been buying black from my friends. I've never understood, but then it's a privilege for me to grow up in Brixton and then go to an auntie and get an auntie who's from Ghana and get like lovely gold earrings and things like that. So I just say we have to keep the Black Pound within us and keep that circling strong.
Yeah, 100%. I think before Black Pound Day and around the Black Lives kind of Matter, kind of when it was rising, really reaching its peak, one of the things someone said I saw was we might be the only community that is so welcoming and open, irrespective of what we've been through. And whenever other communities close themselves to us in the terms of their finances, in terms of their culture, no, you can't shop here, no, this is a certain area that is ring-fenced, we're like, oh, okay. But we never do that to ourselves because we don't want to seem, we don't want to be looked at in a bad way. Where in reality, buying black is no different than other communities who are looking to keep it in their, keep the money in their community as well. But I think it's again a mental thing where we actually have to get to that understanding. It's okay. It's actually all right, for us to build ourselves up. It's okay. And that, again, that financial psychology, I think as a community, that's part of it as well. You know, that we need to get to that. Even with Black Pound Day, it's now, it's reversing the mentality that people have had towards buying black. Not, some people didn't even realize it was a thing you could do. But it's something that we have to kind of definitely embrace. Dorothy said, black businesses keep screwing me over. I'm not sure anymore.
I think we have to learn to be patient with each other, and then essentially just go to another black business. Because if one black business is pissing me off, I'm definitely going to the next. Like, I kid you not. Like, I'll do my best. But if someone starts acting up, I tell them and I say, listen, you're part of the reason my money's going back to the white man. Do you understand? I say you need to do better. We all need to do better.
Has that happened before?
Oh yeah. And sometimes you have to hot people up, you know. Just hot them up a little, just to be like, what are you taking me for? This is my hard-earned money. Where do you think I got this money from?
Oh gosh. Yeah,
so,
that's true.
But at the same time, we need to be patient, because as black people, we've been through a lot. So miracles aren't going to happen overnight. But I think sometimes with black people as well, we become a bit too friendly. But there's nothing wrong with being friendly. But it's just like, if we're being friendly and you're taking my money, you need to start coming a bit more correct.
Yeah,
and if you're not coming correct, I'll find someone who is.
Yeah, 100. Come on. All right. I remember I've taught in Brixton, I've taught in Hackney, I've taught young people, and I've taught in Eton, and I've taught in Cambridge. And one thing I saw in that gap was, one of the biggest things was the gap of knowledge. When I went to Cambridge, I remember I was talking to year 8s and 9s, and I asked them a question, you know, do you know what interest is? APR, AER. Now, I was asking a question that was way advanced, that I felt was more advanced for that age group. And one boy put his hand up, he goes, sir. I said, what? He goes, API, annual percentage rate, it's a charge for borrowing, da-da-da-da. I said, whoa. I said, okay, how did you know that? Where did you come up with that? He goes, you know, my dad taught me. I said, your dad? Okay, what did your dad do? He goes, he's the director of HSBC. I said, okay, I get why. Another child, you know, showed, you know, knowledge in another area. I said, what does your mum do? Oh, she's an accountant. She shows me all this stuff. And it really was quite glaring that on the other side, how the other side are living, one of the things that they're giving their children is knowledge, and is that kind of understanding of how this economics work. Yeah. In your experience, what have you seen on the other side that they do that we can take kind of into our lives and apply?
I think as parents, future parents, future leaders, no matter what you do, make time for your child on an educational level. I'm sorry, don't care if you have 3 jobs, and I know that sounds harsh. No matter what you do not care if you have 3 jobs. You have to educate. Do not be tired. Do not let your kid run around eating anything they want to eat. That's not helping them get to the best level. You've got to sit down and chat with them and be like, how are you feeling at school? How are you feeling at school? Are the teachers treating you right? We, as a black people, we need to start believing our kids when they say that, I don't know, maybe this teacher's being like that or that. We need to start backing them. Being like, what are they teaching you at school? What else do you want to know? And things like that. Having those conversations, even with nieces and nephews and stuff, like, oh, okay, so what do you know about money? What does your mum do? What does your dad do? Do you think so what's that? Do you think that's a good job? Like, what do they perceive as good jobs and why? And things like that. Do you understand the importance of community? Why do you play with that person? Why do you play with this? And really get to know and study your own children and your own community, your nieces and nephews. It's paramount. Like, there's I don't want to say there's no time to sleep, but there's none. There's no more time. We have to wake up.
My daughter's 1 and 5 months. So thank you. So, you know, I didn't want to be a father. I always feared of being a father. I didn't know if I was going to be good enough. I didn't have the greatest experience growing up. So I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it. But 1 year and 5 months in is hard. It does get hard, but it's been great to just observe her and understand what makes her tick. And I've got mentioned it in another podcast. So another episode, I've got a notes folder in my phone, and it's just called Observations. Her name, and her name's Cleo. So Cleo Observations, and just noting what type of child she is, what things does she do. So she's quite an adventurer. She's very independent. At 1 year, 5 months, she's starting to try and dress herself. She eats by herself. She'll move your hand if you're trying to help her with her coat.
Yeah.
But she's also very empathetic, and if I pretend I'm crying, she'll be like, "Oh, sorry." So just like you were saying, it is down to us to kind of dig deep and know the inner sanctum of our children and what they're experiencing, because in this big, wide, crazy world, it's either you talk to them or the world will talk to them. Somebody's going to raise them. It's either you or it's going to be the streets. Mm-hmm. And I think by building that connection and that relationship while they're young, mm-hmm. it morphs into adulthood. It morphs into parenthood. What's your relationship with your parents?
So my father's passed away, and me and my mum have a good relationship. I tend to talk to her about business a lot more now, because she's always been an entrepreneur in her own right. So yeah, we have good chats. My mum's an accountant by trade. My dad's a lawyer by trade. So.
And for you, I know you mentioned, you did your episode for your Bola Soul show, and you talked about daddy issues and everything. What was it that you learned from your dad, just watching him, observing him?
That being unintentional is the same as being intentional.
Being unintentional. Break that down for me, please. I need to click some fingers up in here.
Like, one of the things I found, right, one of the last conversations we had was about the fact that he didn't mean to not be there. Because, our generation, we're expressive now. We're getting on the internet, we're saying how we feel. My parents' generation, they're not for that. They're thinking, what the hell are these kids doing, opening up? Some of them are soldiers. Some of them come from Biafran wars.
Yes,
they're like, you're on the internet chatting about your emotions, bro. I'll smoke you now.
It's true.
But he basically said, after watching the Daddy Issues episode, that it was never that he didn't mean to be there. He didn't mean to not be there. And I said, did you know that having no intention is the same as having one? I said, you have to be willing to make a difference. And it was a bittersweet, because he started trying after that, and of course he passed away like within, I think, 12 months of that. So then we started trying more, and he was like, do you know what, I'm gonna try harder. So with me in my life, I do not take people being unintentional in my life. I do not take that at all. I personally think life is too short for people to just dawdle in my life and for me to dawdle in other people's. I say, if you're gonna love me properly, or leave me alone.
Yeah, that's deep. I didn't see it that way. I've had that same experience, not in the passing, but my biological father, I lived with him for maybe up to age 8, 9. Then I went to live with my mum and my stepfather. And because that was the formative years, unfortunately, it was the hardest years, because I didn't learn love from him. I learned to fear him. I didn't know what love was. I just knew this is the man who I should fear. If my name was called, I would seize up. So it was almost like you said, it was unintentional, but it might have had just been that he wasn't there. But after years went on, and only recently we reconnected, and like you said, the trying happened again. But in that core period of time, it's hard because your person is shaped by the absence. You formed who you are because of the absence. Was there a part of you that had already formed, and so when the reconnection was happening, it wasn't going to work anyway? Or were you more open to it?
I think I had to learn to soften my heart.
Carry on. It's such a deep thing, yeah.
Yeah, I had to learn to soften my heart. I think we all do as humans sometimes. And I see it, you know, I talk about it in therapy. Sometimes, like I said, I just want to lock things off because I just say this is long. And it can be a bad habit that you've seen in your lives, then you repeat it. But something my friend said to me, she was just like, you have to ask God to soften your heart and give people the benefit of the doubt. And remember that we are all human, we all fall short. Yeah. And that's why some people say things to me like, oh, you're too forgiving, or you give people too many chances. And I say, well, who am I?
Yeah,
you know?
Come on.
Trust me. I in the grand scheme of life? Who am I?
Trust me.
So I don't know, but I don't let it be to my detriment that anyone is affecting like my mental health and stuff like that. But
yeah,
you know, sometimes you need like space or time, and then you come back. But
yeah, no, you're so right. I mean, when I asked, I remember he was. We had a conversation. I'm an adult now. I'm not a child no more. I'm like an adult. I've got a kid. Yeah. So now the conversations are flowing much easily from me because the fear has disappeared. And I remember I asked him, I said to him, do you know how it was as a child? Like, it wasn't good, you know? Like, it wasn't, and I just literally, I offloaded it. And he said, you know what, that's not what I intended it to be, just like you mentioned. But he said my father was in the army. And so he was very, very strict with him. And so he, in a sense, only mirrored what he had seen with me. How he thought to take care of a child or how to discipline a child, that's all he knew. And when he said that, I thought, okay, it doesn't take it away, but the understanding gives context. I understand now.
And that's something I've learned as well. Sorry to...
No.
At times, we as humans are innately selfish. One of the things that we can forget is that our mothers and fathers had lives before we came into it. So sometimes we don't even think to ask, you know, what was it like growing up for you? You know, therapy is a interesting process because it's for everyone. Even you have discussions with your parents. I've tried to have my mum. And I think, you know, maybe I should chat to my grandma as well. What was that really like? Yeah. And is my mum telling the truth? Is that what really happened? Yeah. Because you start to hear the real stories. When life really goes down, you just realise that, boy, there's no guide. Yeah. The closest guide is the Bible. And even then, there's walls of Jericho. So you can only do your best.
That's true. And I'm a father now, so... You know, at my house right now, there's bare boxes around because I'm moving on Saturday. Oh, okay. But the process to get a place, oh my gosh, the process to get a place in Corona, in the middle of a Corona, we've had to put my daughter in the car, and we live so far because we're trying to move so closer to London, drive her from here all the way down to London, go and see a place where there's damp all over the wall, feel dejected, have to drive all the way back, find a place that we love, put in an offer for it, get rejected. But my daughter can't see any of this. All she is in the back is screaming and crying because I'm sitting in this car seat and I'm comfortable and I'm tired. I want to get out. I want to run. Yeah. But she doesn't know that in the background, the only reason this is taking so long is that I want to find a house with a garden so she can play. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. And so when our parents say, you know, I'm just trying to do it for you. That's why I did this. It's for you. You know, when you see them as humans, you realize, and once you get into those shoes, you realize that they're just big children. Adult, you know, our parents, they're just children. They're just children, but they're just slightly bigger and they're slightly older. But the same mental scars, the same traumas, the same PTSDs, the same issues internally, externally that they've had, they just carry it. And I think, like you said,
old people love like being around like babies and like, oh, grandma and stuff, because they're both really soft, and you know, they're both innocent but in varying ways. I find it
interesting. You really, really are about encouraging women about their side hustles. And there was a quote, something on Twitter that I saw. Someone wrote this tweet. They said, "One thing my mum said to me growing up: aspiring to marry someone rich seems nice until you realize the money is theirs and not yours. They'll remind you of this when the relationship collapses. Always have your own, so no one can ever hold you hostage in your own home."
Yeah.
Tell me about how that kind of resonates with you and what you see for women in finance.
I think no one, regardless of who you choose to date, should ever be like, oh, they handled the account, so what do you do? Because time and time again, times have come where someone's stealing from someone else. Someone's racking up credit debt and you're not knowing why. You need to be able to see everything as much as they can. The only person who we can't see, who we trust, is God. Nobody's God. I need to see what's going on with the money, and vice versa. Everyone should have their own money, regardless. I think patriarchy has built this thing where it's like men should have more money. When you become one, the money is both of yours. If you want to get a prenup and both of you are fine with that, or whatever, then go ahead. But each person should come, because the same way you should have known how to cook before, the same way you should have worked on yourself before, your emotional intelligence, maybe, I don't know, your health, your physical appearance, all of those things. You don't go into a relationship and be like, I've stopped doing my hair because they do their hair, so why would you do the same with your finances? Of course, it should be something that's exciting. Yes, we can get more houses together, or yes, we can make better investments together. That's what it's about. It's not about relying on someone and things like that. It's always nice to be treated, but both of you should enable each other to get up and get it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it. And I'm a man, so to some degree, to some degree, stereotypically, I should hate that. I'm like, no, the guy has to be in charge. But
suicide rates are high, bro.
Exactly.
You lot need to calm down. Like, obviously, not saying I don't like a cheeky bag here and there and like to be pampered from time to time, but we have to share the workload for the sake of health.
Yeah, it's true. No, and I think as a man, I think I've realised that, even as a father, that that patriarchal society, though I benefit from, looking at it from the outside or standing back from it, you get to actually see, in relation to the suicide rate, how detrimental it is that the man holds, everything on his shoulders. Now, it seems a trophy, but really it's a knife, and you're holding a knife to your own self. When in reality, I think when we are, like you said, coming together and we're bringing those finances together, bringing the responsibilities together, both of us get to share in that, the ups and the downs. And I think when you can be more open to that, it's not about who is bringing in the more money. It's about who's bringing money into our house and how can we keep that running. I remember when I got married, I wasn't working. My wife was working for a bit. I was at home. I'll try and make sure the home is clean before she comes, make sure the food is ready before she comes. How can I come home and there's no food food made? Because we're both trying to serve each other. And again, it goes back to that selfless love. Selfless love, the Bible talks about selfless love doesn't fail. How love is selfless. If people really, truly, apply that it is no longer about, okay, the title. It's about how do I serve, how do I serve this person? How do I serve my household? How do I serve my child in the best way possible? And then you see each person is trying to almost outdo the person in service. And that's when you've got selfless love just going back and forth. Yeah, that's talking deep in it. All right. Big up to everyone that's been joining us so far. 21 questions with Bola Soul. Bola Soul's been giving us the real. And I really appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. Just a few more questions. You haven't used your pass card yet. That's good. Tell me about not being the token in the room. You've spoken about that on other podcasts, about not being the token person in the room, but building your own table. How important that is for you?
It can feel fun to be like the one that stands out and stuff like that, but your community is suffering at your own hands. I don't get that. When people say this person's talking about finance as well and stuff like that, I'm like, that's fantastic. Sometimes I pass other people's names forward for opportunities, but
yeah.
I don't want to be the only person in the room. Because, so here's an analogy I like to use. If you're the only person in the room and everybody else speaks a different language, how do you know if they're praising you or laughing at you?
Yeah.
And people say things like, oh, don't, we don't need broken down into tribes or languages. My point is this: if you're the only person in the room, if push comes to shove, who's backing you? Are they using you? Who's really there for you?
Yeah.
There is nothing like being in a room and there's, I don't know, there could be 80 women in a room and then there's 10 women, and all I have to do is nod and look at those other women to know that they have my back. It's like as a woman, when you go out and you feel like maybe a man is following you, and then you just see a group of 2 or 3 girls. Yeah. That is the feeling every time. If you're the only person in the room that looks like you are more at risk of many things, and you'll never know if they are laughing at you or if they are praising you, if they choose at any moment to speak their own language. Do you bring other people to the room, or do you just soak in the glory, but for how long? Until you try to say they're trying to kill me, and then now you're trying to invite other people into that room. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because people will be like, why are you now inviting me into a room if you say that they're killing you?
I love that. We have to not be afraid to lift up each other, man. I think it's so important, because your light is not dimmed by doing that. Your shine does not go down by lifting up somebody else. We all are able to then walk the walk because of what you've done. Like you said, you've got an opportunity. I remember I was watching a YouTube video with Chunks and Philly, the 2 YouTubers, and they always are constantly like, if a bag is being brought to me, they're saying, okay, what about Chunks? If a bag is being brought, okay, yeah, but what about Philly? How I'm not coming unless Philly is coming. Yeah. And some people will be like, Philly's not coming? Oh, cool. That's just me. But it's about collectively, how does the bag almost get separated, spread out amongst us? And that also, unfortunately, it takes, dimming down of the ego. And it takes humility to be able to say, it's not just for me. The win's not for me, but it's for the wider, the wider community. What type of legacy would Bola like to leave when your time is done down here? How would you like people to remember you?
As someone who always tried, someone who was kind, and someone who apologized regardless of the position they were in. That's really important. At times you can hurt people, and like, you just think, boy, you can think about your position in life, whether that's money, that's career, that's status, that's age, because Lord knows, coming from an African household, they say stuff like, we're not the same age, but I learn from my nieces, I learn from my nephews, so it's the same vibe. It's the same vibe. I want to be remembered as someone who wasn't afraid to apologize, who wasn't afraid to try for anything, try for relationships, try again when you feel like a business venture has failed and you fall on hard times, and someone who is kind. And being kind doesn't mean you've got to be a yes man. People shouldn't get that confused.
What is being kind?
It's thinking about yourself. It's thinking about others. Like I said, as humans, we're innately selfish. Think about how you can be of service to other people.
Mm-hmm.
When people are in other service to me, I think, well, how can I turn that around? Every time I secure a bag, I think, how can I better my community? What can I do for them and things like that? And that's something that's important to me, and I think it just always will be.
Lastly, I want to just quickly touch on, were there any stigmas that you had to kind of overcome going to therapy, and how effective has it been?
Pass.
Pass?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is the first pass in 24 shows. I respect it totally, but I'm just like, oh, she said pass. Okay, no problem. Well,
I've got to keep people on their toes.
Please keep them tiptoeing out here. All right, let me switch that then. Let me switch that with a question that it's just linking back to what we were talking about, relationships. You've talked about before, how do you make money a non-factor in relationships?
By talking about it the same way you talk about everything else.
And what does it mean for it to be a non-factor in your eyes?
For it not to be a factor, I don't know. It is a factor to me, so it's hard for me to pretend it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know how important it is to you. I need to know, are you gonna have an issue if I make more than you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you handle that? Because I say life chops and changes. You know, do you care if maybe I had a nicer car than you, or vice versa? Is there anything I need to know? And sometimes people will give you the answers, but their actions will be completely different.
Yeah. And
you have to be willing to ask yourself if you're willing to stay around for that.
Yeah, that's true. Finally, last question. What do you want for Taiwo and Kende?
You want my twins?
Yeah. What type of future do you want for them?
That was funny.
Taiwo and Kende, what do you want? What type of future would you love for them to have?
I think it's really important that I just put out a quick
disclaimer.
Say that I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Yet. I'm dreaming of future twins.
Yeah.
I want a future where they can say to me, "This is who I've decided to be today, and it's fine." And I say that's cool, and I support them to the high heavens. I want my life to be like not all about my kids, but majority about my kids. I say, what do you want to be? Team, what is it? Project Serena Williams, whatever the project is, I'm there. Any class, I'm there. You want to be doing dance, whatever you want to be, I want to be there. I want to be supporting you. I want to show you that it's cool to fall down, but get back up. I want to teach them they can do anything. You want to be a scientist? Come be a scientist. Like I want to be into whatever you're into, kind of vibe.
I want to be into whatever you're.
And that if you decide at any moment that you say, "Listen, I've changed my mind, and this is what I don't want to do," and of course, it's proper conversations. I say that's cool. What's next on the agenda? And I'll joke every now and again. I say, "Bruv, it's you that's funding my retirement, so be picking well."
Why that? Please never lose that. I know that's from the way you've spoken. I can hear that's embedded in your heart. Just never lose that, because I think there are so many of us that may be suffering under the opposite trauma of that, which it was not that. Yeah. So never lose that. Why is that in particular so important to you?
When you say that, what exactly are you referring to?
That you, what did you say? That you're in their world. That you're that you're into what they're into.
I think naturally growing up to your 10s and even your 20s, I think it can be quite a disturbing time. I look at things in like decades, And you know, they say like terrible twos. I think that can follow you in the decade of your 20s, because you're learning, and in your 10s, like you're one, so everything's fantastic. Like you're starting secondary school. It's the time you start secondary school. It's the time you start college. It's this time you start uni. You're finding new friends and all of these things. And in this life, I want my kid and I to be friends. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, don't mean that you can chat bad to me, because I'm not stupid. But the point is, there are so many things that are going to happen in your child's life. You want them to talk to you. It is the difference between them telling you that potentially they have been sexually abused. It is the difference between saying that maybe somebody frauded me and stuff, because a lot of the times they'll feel silly, and depending on how you treat them, they can either say this is all my fault, or they say, I know who I'm going to chat to. I'm going to chat to my mum. I'm going to chat to my dad.
Yeah.
And you say like, no, they're there for me. You need the ones where they're backing you, and not like backing the teacher, or they're just naturally believing you. And it sounds mad, but a lot of parents tend not to believe their kid. I'm not saying that you should pull up to the school on a rumble jungle tip, but of course, you want to be able to say like that you're there for them, and that you're willing to come into their world, because it's scary that they've come into this world and they don't know the things you do. But so yeah.
Bola, thank you, man. Thank you so much for sharing. Like, you've said some things that I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this myself and just digest it. So thank you for your time. Seriously, you're doing amazing things in not just in the finance wellness kind of arena, but just like what you've spoken, some of the stuff you've spoken about today. I can see how you've drawn on that from the Bola Soul show, and like continue to do it, because like your voice matters. Your voice matters, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's wherever you are. Put your voice there, because the things that you're saying, and you'll see, if you see from the chat, through the comment section, a lot of people are saying that there were certain things that really, really, really resonated with them. So please keep sharing your story. Keep holding things back, because everybody doesn't need to know everything. But yeah, just keep being amazing for the community, because you're doing amazing things. And that's why I wanted you on. I wanted people to, if they've never ever seen you or heard about you, let them go and dive into your world. Guys, make sure you follow Bola, all the things that she's doing. She's got the podcast. Like, go and dive now into her world and find out what you can glean from it. So, Bola, thank you so much for your time, man. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. No problem. Take care.
Bye.
Guys, thank you for joining us for 21 seconds. What did I say? 21 seconds? 21 questions. Let me know how has it been let me know how it was in the comment section. Man, that was deep, I think I had a lot of questions originally about finance and but I love the way that it went, because it gets you to see a different side of Bola. It's just not just finance. She has an amazing head on her, and perspectives and concepts. So please, after this, make sure you go and follow her, delve into her life and what she's doing. But also, we've got loads of episodes that we've done. I think we're on 24 or 25 now. Click the link in the bio. Go and check it. We had an amazing conversation last week. Oh my gosh, go and check that out. We're still shady. But guys, thank you so much for joining. Big up Nasentanomi. I can't say it properly, but sorry. But this is your first time. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you're back here next Thursday. We do this every Thursday, 9 p.m. After this, click the link in the bio and you can watch all the episodes that we've been doing. You can watch them on YouTube and you can listen to them on podcasts. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Every single week you're here repping, and I appreciate you. We're just here to facilitate empowering and inspiring conversation. That's what the Sit Down does. So thank you so much for joining us. Oprah, good to see you. Olufemi, good to see you. Tarek will be tuned in next one. Please do, man. Next Thursday. Love to see you here. Nascent Naomi. Got it. Thank you for joining us, man. Guys, click the link in the bio. Watch the YouTube videos. Or if you want to, you can check out the podcast. We're going to be back next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. I'm IC. This is the Sit Down. 21 questions. Take care.